Hey guys, it's Amelia here with Higher Standards Caregiver Training. Welcome to this week's 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. It's the only 10-minute educational session that is as much fun to watch as it is to say. As always, this information that I'm about to share is for educational purposes only. If it reminds you of someone in some way and makes you think that that person might need to be assessed by a licensed and appropriate healthcare provider, then definitely make sure you reach out and get that assistance from the appropriate provider, because this is for educational purposes only. All right, that said, let's go ahead and get started. Today, I don't know if you saw the little teaser video that I put out earlier, but today we're going to be talking about this picture right here and what it means for caregivers. Okay, so actually this is an illustration of how the signals get from our eyes into our brains so that we can process the information that we see as sight. And before we even get into the picture, let me talk a little bit about how this information is processed and why it's important for caregivers. So what we're specifically going to be talking about is visual field cuts and visual field deficits that can occur in stroke survivors. Of course, these field cuts and deficits can occur in folks with many different types of injuries or lesions on the brain. However, we're going to be talking about an issue that can commonly occur with folks who are stroke survivors. And so this is a really important issue regarding safety for caregivers to understand. So let me get back into it here. All right. So basically what we have here is a very terrible mock-up of what happens as visual information travels from your eyes, from the back of the retina on your eyes all the way into your brain. And so just to do a quick kind of run through here. So you have two sides to your retina. You have the right side and the left side. And all of the information from the right side ends up traveling down one optic nerve that goes to the right. So you can see here all the information that comes from the right kind of stays to the right. When it gets to this X here, that's actually known as the optic chiasma. And the information that goes, the information coming from the right over here crosses over that, and everything from the right goes to the right. Same thing on the left. All of the information on the left side, hitting the left side of the retina, comes in and it stays to the left. So for this one, it simply stays to the left, and for your other eye, it crosses over in the middle there. So that basically you have all of the information from the right side of your vision going this way, and all the information from the left side of your vision going that way. What can commonly happen when someone has a stroke on one side of the brain, which is generally how strokes occur, they occur in one area, not multiple areas all at the same time, is often one of these optic nerves can be affected. So let's say, for example, this right optic nerve here is affected. And that means that folks are no longer receiving information from the right side of the environment. Of course, this can happen on the right side or the left side. It doesn't matter. Both sides can be affected. However, the way that your brain works, the way that everyone's brain works, is our brain likes to fill in gaps and make things complete. So even though the person who has that, who's not seeing anything in the right side of the environment, in the right side of their visual field, the brain is actually going to complete that information for them, and it's going to tell them that they are seeing everything, even though that they're not. So this is really important for caregivers to be aware of, not because they should be diagnosing or treating this issue, which, by the way, is called homonymous hemianopsia. There's no need to remember that. Simply just knowing that it's fairly common for stroke survivors to have a field cut, meaning they're not able to see their visual field on one side or the other. Why is this important for caregivers to know? Well, certainly because it's a safety issue. It's important for caregivers to understand if the person that they're working with doesn't see their whole field of vision, because that means that that person also isn't seeing obstacles on that side of the environment. They might not be seeing safety hazards on that side of the environment. They might not see things that they need to access on that side of the environment. So caregivers need to be aware of that so that they can help to give cues, give warnings, give instructions to the person who's not seeing that part of the world, to look in that direction, or otherwise let them know that there's something there that they might need to be aware of. This is an incredibly important issue, of course, when it comes to safety, but also it can be an issue when it comes to people's ability to do more for themselves. So, for example, if I'm working with someone who has a visual field cut and they're not seeing anything on the right side of the environment, but I put their glass of water or the remote control or their call light or something else that's important to them over on that right side, then they're not going to see it. They won't know that it's there. And they won't necessarily know to look for it, because again, their brain is telling them that they have a complete picture even when they don't. So it's incredibly important for caregivers to be aware that this can be an issue, to know if their client does have this issue so that they can make sure to take into account as they're caring for this person that they're not noticing and recognizing things on that side of the environment. Okay, so that's the tip for caregivers for today. The other tip we're going to do, though, as always, is for caregiving organizations. And this is something that's very important. It really impacts, really and truly, every level of an organization's operations. It affects, it can help to decrease turnover. It affects how flexible your caregiver pool is. It affects how easy it is to schedule caregivers. It can affect things like quality complaints, falls, injuries. And of course, it can even increase the stability of an organization, the predictability of an organization. And that is the training and skill levels of your caregivers. And beyond just the skill level that they're coming in with, what access do they have to what kind of education and training that can help them to continually grow, continually be prepared, that can help them to work with a client maybe who they're not familiar with, working with a client who has XYZ issue. So making sure that caregivers have access to high quality ongoing education absolutely impacts an organization at every single level in a positive way. If this is something that you are interested in, if you're noticing that you're having issues in your organization related to turnover, having a hard time scheduling, having a hard time recruiting, retaining caregivers, quality complaints, injuries, falls, any of those issues, then definitely I want to invite you to attend my free educational webinar. It is all about the power of education in caregiving organizations. It's next Wednesday, September 1st at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And it's going to be full of really high value, high quality content that's going to help you identify these issues, and of course, some solutions to really get down to it and actually start to solve those problems. So if those are issues you're seeing, or if they're just things that you're worried about that you want to know more about, then I absolutely invite you to register for the webinar. You can, of course, reach out to me and I'll help get you registered, or you can click on the link I'm going to drop into a post shortly after this live broadcast is over. So that's it for me today, y'all. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this was helpful content for you. Make sure that you tune in next week for next week's 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. As always, it'll be on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And until then, take care.